Voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello everyone, welcome back to DurianASEAN.com, the voice of discovery and sharing. And today you're with me, Gowri, and I'm here on our ASEAN Daily segment to bring you news from all over Southeast Asia, as well as some important headlines from Malaysia and other parts of the region as well. And it's a Tuesday morning, and I hope all of you are having a great day. We're back from the long holiday. As we all know, I hope you guys are all recharged and all pumped up for the rest of the week. And of course, I'm gonna kick off our news session today with the Oscars, which happened just yesterday. It was the 87th Annual Academy Award, and of course it drew attention from all over the world, and a lot of people were excited about it, and well, of course we are as well. The one that I want to highlight here is a couple of things. First of all is I'm really excited that Eddie Redmayne won the Oscar for The Theory of Everything, because he did an amazing job playing Stephen Hawking, and even Stephen Hawking himself actually congratulated Eddie Redmayne, saying that he did a good job playing Stephen Hawking. And if you haven't seen the movie, you have to see it. It's almost impeccable the way the whole movie was executed, especially the performance by Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawking from when he was completely healthy and when he got the motor neuron disease. And another thing is speeches by a couple of awardees. Of course, the first one is Patricia Arquette, who won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, and she gave a little speech about how it's time for men and women to get paid equally, because although we may think that it's Hollywood and it's the Oscars and they must be all done with racial about sexism and all, but the fact is the female actresses are still not getting paid as much as the male actors do. And not just that, also in terms of questions, when the reporters or they being asked questions at the red carpet, it's usually more of the serious in-depth questions for the male actors, like how you prepare for your role, what did you do. But when it comes to the female actress, they only ask you questions like, what are you wearing, and what's your favorite nail polish color, or like what diet on you right now. And there was this movement as well on Twitter saying hashtag ask her more, where they want these reporters to ask the female actresses equally important and substantial questions, just like what they ask the male actors. And the movement was quite successful on Twitter. Even a lot of famous actresses actually retweeted saying, yes, ask her more, ask me more. I want to talk about how I prepared for my role, and not just about how expensive my dress is, or what am I wearing today, and who did my hair. And another speech also about how being different and being weird could seem like it's a bad thing, but in fact it could turn out well for you, because it's not always the people who follow all the rules and who follow the system all the time who end up achieving great things. It's the people who dare to be weird and who dare to be different. These are the ones who really make changes in their lives, and also make a huge impact in the world. And one more thing before we move on is going back to what we said about the whole racial quota thing. We know that Neil Patrick Harris also cracked a little joke about the Oscars, about how it's very white, and that is something that a lot of media have highlighted, saying that the Oscar, most of them, or probably 9 out of 10 winners every year are all white, and they barely have awards for the black actor or actresses, especially this year where we have nominees for best actors, best actresses, and they were all white, and this caused quite a stir as well, because they want other races in America to be equally acknowledged for their work and for their talent. And there you have it, a very controversial, at the same time, a very inspiring Oscar at this time, the 87th Academy Awards. And of course, we cannot forget Lady Gaga's stellar performance as well, when she did Sound of Music, that even brought Julie Andrews to tears. And let us know if you have any favorite, anyone that you thought should win but didn't win, or did win but you didn't really think that they deserved it. Let us all know on our Facebook page or on Twitter page, and you can use the hashtag Oscar 2015 and also hashtag DurianASEAN. And moving on to coming back to our region here, we're kicking off with a little something from Thailand, where we have two young Thais accused of defaming the monarchy in a university play, and they are going to be jailed for 2.5 years. And this only shows how intensified the ruling junta and their crackdown has been. And this pair were originally handed a 5-year jail term, actually, but the sentence was halved due to their confessions. And it seems the lawyer, Pawini Chumsri, said that her client, who have been detained since their arrest and denied bail, would not appeal. And the police are still hunting for 6 others who are involved in the play for allegedly violating the 112, which is the feared section of the Thai Criminal Code, which contains one of the world's most draconian royal defamation laws. So it seems that Malaysia is not the only one that has a law that people fear and think it should be repealed. It's the same with Thailand, which is called the 112 section. And according to the Paris-based International Federation of Human Rights, at least 40 people have been arrested since the takeover, and 9 of them sentenced between 2 to 15 years in prison. And of course, this goes back to what's been happening in Malaysia as well, where just in the last week, especially since the arrest of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, we have seen a list of people getting arrested for voicing their discontent or their opinion on social media. And the most recent one was, of course, the vocal activist Lawrence Jayaraj, who also happens to be the father of the same Form 3 student who was barred last month from entering class because she was wearing a baju kurung. And he was, of course, arrested under the Sedition Act. And a lot of people are starting to wonder what the government is doing and why have they started arresting people. And it seems like they are also kind of like in this state of panic, if I may. And they have gotten his statement and released already. And another thing is, the Inspector General of Police, Tan Sri Khalid Abu Bakar, actually said through his Twitter account that the police would crack down on those who heavily criticize the government. And just right there itself, we can see how the government is trying to curb more people from coming up and speaking up, because if you were to look at it, there's nothing wrong with criticizing the government, because the government is elected by the people, and therefore the people have every right to give their feedback, to give their criticism to the government, and the government, of course, can also choose whether they want to take it or not and see how they can improve themselves, as opposed to just coming out and saying that we would arrest anyone who is heavily criticizing the government and who is saying that we're not doing a good job. And like I mentioned, of course, this happened just after Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's sentence to 5 years in jail. And we have PKR lawmaker Rafizi Ramli, who said that he's actually quite surprised that the police have set up a special unit to investigate these sedition cases, and also saying that this manpower unit could have been better utilized against real crimes, and we could not agree more. There's a lot of problems going on with the country right now, and a special unit to investigate sedition cases is probably not one of our priorities at the moment, and not something that we're probably dying to have in the country. There's been a lot of rape cases happening, there's been a lot of robbery cases happening, and we don't see any special unit being deployed to investigate these cases. And instead, the government is focusing more on investigating these sedition cases, which could be important from their perspective, but then again, it should not be our priority at the moment, because we are not getting threats from outside, from terrorists that is jeopardizing the safety of this country. And it's our own citizens that we're talking about. It's our own Malaysians that are being arrested and going to jail. And so far, we already have a list of people who were arrested, and the list might go on. We don't know yet as of now, and of course we'll keep you updated on that one to see who else is gets arrested by the Sedition Act, and also whether or not the government will actually keep its promise to repeal it. But that seems very, very unlikely at this moment. And Rafizi also added that here you have the Inspector General of Police, who uses cyberspace and Twitter to issue instructions on the spot. And what this does eventually is, of course, to perpetuate a culture of fear, which we have been trying to do away with for a very, very long time, especially since back then when we had the Operasi Lalang. And we're trying to move forward, trying to get more freedom of expression. We want a more transparent government that we can communicate with, that we can voice our discontent when we're not happy, and not a government that just arrest you and shut you out in jail the moment you say something. So we are going to take a short break. When we come back, I will bring you more headlines and more news from all over Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri.
And this is Grace.
And we are, of course, at our ASEAN Daily segment for today. And we are here to bring you news from all over Southeast Asia, as well as some of the news outside the region, which is just equally as important. And we are gonna kick off this time with what's happening in Greece. They have a massive debt that they haven't paid off in a very long time, and this is of course causing a lot of experts to come and say that they'll probably just get out of the EU and stop using the euro. That's one of the factors as well. But what's really happening in Greece right now? They are on the verge of bankruptcy, and they are going to submit a list of economic reforms as demanded by their creditors for a bailout program. And this proposal will be handed in, and we will see what's the support from the European Union, the European Central Bank, as well as the International Monetary Fund, and how they are going to react to this economic reforms that Greece will be suggesting.
Yes, apparently this loan was extended for about 4 months, and for sure they were supposed to pay off all those debts way before, but it's been extended. That's why all these other surrounding countries are pretty much disappointed and losing their credibility on those countries. So the list itself that Greece is supposed to submit is understood to contain the pledges to raise more in tax from countries to top earners, and from crackdown on smuggling as well. And apparently the German tabloid reported that the Greek government hoped to take around 1.8 billion pounds more from powerful Greek tycoons, and also similar amount will be drawn from the back taxes owed to the state by individuals and the business as well.
And just to give a little update, as of February 12, what's been happening is that the government actually failed to reach a deal with all their Eurozone ministers on renegotiating this bailout. And because of that, they had to propose to overhaul at least 30% of their reform commitments. And they also want kind of like a deal because it wants a debt swap that will free up funds for economic growth, a bridging loan until September to buy time, and also to reverse the austerity measures demanded by previous governments. So it's a very tricky situation here because they have to pay off the debt, but at the same time they need more money to sort of keep the economy going at least until September, so they can come up with a new plan or new reform to see what else they can do. And they also want to swap the debt with something that could free up more money for their economic growth, because unless they do something about their economic growth at the moment, there is no way that they can generate more income to actually pay off all these debts.
And at the same time, but it's not clear whether the Greek government will be able to get all this sort of more support from the other countries. And also, it's not also sure whether the Greek government will be allowed to meet this the promises to roll back its the money system. And under its agreement with the Eurozone, Athens has promised not to carry out any unilateral actions that would hurt its fiscal targets, economic recovery, or financial stability. So if the government decides to stick to the commitment, it stands to receive up to 7.2 billion euros, that's around $8.1 billion in funds, and still left with the 240 billion euro bailout scheme.
So why this is such an issue right now is because whatever bailout that they are working on will actually expire at the end of February, which is this week, and their failure to agree on an extension would actually see Greece mount more on their giant debts, and that would eventually mean that they will have to crash out of the euro, and that's another issue that's happening here. And it seems the total amount that they actually have to pay back is 3.5 billion euros, and they also owe the bank another 3.2 billion euros. And how are they gonna generate all this money? We don't know. And it seems that some of the articles here that I have also said that maybe they should just let Greece crash and start again from scratch, and they can build their country and build their economy from there and see how well they fare, because it's not fair and it's not possible for these countries to keep helping them, to keep pumping more and more cash, but they don't see anything happening.
Well, reforming in terms of starting from the scratch is it could be a good suggestion actually, Gowri. But at the same time, this country owes a lot of money from different organizations, such as like Eurozones. They own already 60%, and the IMF is around 10%. And the Greek loan facility, it's another like few percentages. They already own a lot lump sum of money. And it's not just the money that we're talking about, the normal average, the euro that we are talking about. It's a huge amount of money. And then, in fact, the Greece agreed an extension to its financial rescue program with the Eurozone countries, which was just the last week, and said it would submit. And then that's why we are expecting the list of the reforms by this week. So to be able to hear the positive news, it's not so sure whether it will be actually be agreed with other countries, but then we are hoping that they can also be able to support Greece in a better way, better manner, to be able to overcome this situation.
And the German finance minister has also come up to say that there will be no payment or no new funds for Greece until the conditions of the deal had been met. So like you were also mentioning earlier, a lot of the countries they have been giving a lot of money to Greece and trying to help them out, but they are also done helping. Like, okay, I keep giving you all this money, but I don't see any changes happening. So what's going on? And because of that, the German finance minister has also said that they will not be giving any more funds, allocate any sort of payment for Greece, and they have to sort of win the battle by themselves from now on.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of a Greek economic in number figures,
Yes.
as unemployment is around 25%, with the youth unemployment is almost 50%, and the economy has shrunk by 25% since the start of the Eurozone crisis, and the country itself, the debt is around 175% of GDP itself, and they apparently borrowed around 188 billion of euros from the EU and the ECP and also IMF.
That's a huge amount of number, and of course we will keep our listeners updated on any update that comes out from this crisis, on whether or not they will quit the euro, whether or not they can come up with a plan that can meet their creditors' demands. And coming back to our region here, we have, of course, we're going to Philippines for a bit, and it seems that there has been mass protests for Aquino's ouster that started quite a few days ago, especially since the killing of the 44 members of the Special Action Force in Maguindanao last month. And this comes off as a shock as well, because all this while Aquino has been pretty popular among the Filipinos, and it seems that they are also pretty fed up with the way he has been handling things. There are all these people getting killed, and he's not too vocal about it. He didn't come out to say that, okay, I have this solid plan to overcome this, and nothing is gonna happen anymore. Nothing, and people are just starting to get fed up with him, and they want him out now.
Because they had a so high expectation from him, that's why a lot of huge disappointment comes in. And at the same time, the anger and the movement was supported also by the hundreds of students. They are wearing the T-shirt saying that truth and accountability, and that this is what they are voicing out for, and also unity walk for truth and accountability. They had this walk and a protest action, which was just a few days ago on a Sunday. And the student did call for the resignation of the president, of whom they describe as the incompetent and also liar for hiding the vital information on the particular event on the January 25th, and then between the SAF and also combined forces of more Islamic Liberation Front.
And it's always very tricky when it comes to incidents like this. When something controversial happens, the people are always dying to know what happened, but for some reason the government always feel like they have to protect us, and they tend to withhold certain information. I think not only in Philippines, but pretty much in any country around the world, even in Malaysia. But what the people really want is for the government to be transparent, especially the leader of the country, to come forward and say, this is what happened, and this is what I failed to do, so therefore I'm going to do these things to overcome that, to overcome my lack of competency at the time to solve the problem. But instead, they tend to maintain this front that everything is fine and nobody screwed up anything, and this is what tends to piss most people off, especially in this case where we have the students here who have come up to say that they don't, like you mentioned, they're calling him liar and incompetent, and they are done with the way he's been handling the country. And it seems that this has been going on for a while, and although Aquino has come out to say that it's only a small group of people, and they're not even enough to fit into a small gym, but you should never underestimate the power of the people, because it could start out small, but you never know how big it can get in a matter of days.
Well, from this incident, right, Gowri, we talked about and we asked the question about why is the government always hiding something from people? Why can't they be just transparent? But at the same time, the government needs to feel thankful for those people who come up with all this, could be outrageous or the movement, because they care. They care about their country and they want to hear what's going on exactly from the government directly. So they should be thankful that the people still do care about, the older system, and then the what's really going on, the truth and the correct information from the government.
And in fact, there are actually some people who, of course, oppose what these students are doing, and they are actually calling this group the political has-beens, and they said that why would a group of people support these kids who have done nothing to help our nation, but they're trying to bring down a leader who has done a lot for them, and that doesn't really make sense. And they also have no credibility and have no moral basis to be calling for the president's ouster. And if they can gather enough people, they would be lucky. And this sounds very condescending, actually, to the students, because like you were just saying, when people stand up for something, they make certain demands, it's because they do still care about the country, and it's also about the freedom of expression, because we keep saying this over and over again. The government is chosen by the people, and the people therefore have every right to voice out whatever it is that they are discontent about against the government. And this doesn't mean that they hate the government or they're trying to promote that sort of a hate mentality. It's not like that. It's just about being critical, which is what every citizen should do.
So now the question is, where was the promises that it was supposed to be carried out? All those promises of transformation, transition in the country, nothing has happened, and it looks like as if they're taking advantage of all those unfulfilled promises.
And it seems that people have starting to voice out their opinions now. And like we know, this is not the only problem with Philippines at the moment, apart from the killing of journalists as well, infrastructural problem, massive issue in the country. And we've been waiting for a long time for sort of like a regime change or a government change, to see what else can people bring into the country, because they've been pretty stagnant the whole time, and even a lot of Filipinos are actually leaving the country to work in other parts of Southeast Asia. And maybe it's time for a change, to see what someone else can probably do if they get into power in the Philippines. So we will move on to Australia, which is also not so much on Australia and Indonesia, where something controversial is also happening, and they have this hashtag called Coin Untuk Australia, which means coins for Australia, where it's their way of hitting back at Australia for all the remarks they have made. So what happened is, first of all, we know that Indonesia right now is on the verge of a lot of criticism because they went ahead with their death rows and that the Bali 9 and also a couple of Australian citizens that caused quite a stir. And because Tony Abbott has came forward to criticize this move, and Indonesia looks at it in a way that Tony Abbott has not been very honest in his aids to Indonesia before, because he offered them some money during the humanitarian crisis that they had, it seems that now he can just come forward and say whatever he wants to say. And Indonesia's response to that is to collect coins so they can pay back Australia for whatever help they have done for Indonesia.
But this action is very in the form of sarcasm.
Very humiliating, actually.
Yes. And then, well, in fact, Australia did help a lot when, especially the Aceh, the area was hit by tsunami, and then they did help majorly in financially a lot. But this coin collection campaign, it definitely, like we mentioned, it's a response to sort of putting on the sarcasm and the humiliation remarks made by this PM, Australian PM, Tony Abbott. And this hashtag went quite viral. It's still going on the Facebook and the Twitter itself. And people from Indonesia are pretty much supporting this movement at the same time.
And another thing is, of course, we know that President Jokowi has rejected the clemency request from the drug-related death row inmates. He is quite adamant about his decisions. He said, I'm going to go ahead and do this because this is my law and I'm going to go ahead with it. And although there have been a lot of human rights activists, a lot of countries speaking up against this, the ironic thing here is the Indonesians seem that they are okay with President Jokowi actually doing that, and they are not enraged by his actions. They're actually enraged by Tony Abbott, who came up to voice his discontent to against what President Jokowi is doing at the moment.
In fact, it's the people from Australia who are not happy about what Joko Widodo has announced about the drug traffickers. It's the but then support always comes from the Indonesian people who are still the great support towards the Joko Widodo's movement. But then definitely because these people are from the outside of Indonesia, and then the things have been already announced to carry out the capital punishment. That's why the tension between Australia and Indonesia have been building up since then.
So it seems Andrew Chan and Muran Sukumaran have been sentenced to death by firing, and these two were arrested with 7 other Australians when they were attempting to smuggle 8.3 kilograms of heroin from Bali to Sydney in Australia in 2005. And Jokowi has of course rejected any appeals, any demands for a pardon. And actually I wish the Indonesians would be this proactive when it comes to all other issues as well, because this one was just a comment made by Tony Abbott, like, hey, what about Indonesian workers who are actually not being treated right in other parts of Southeast Asia as well, in Malaysia and Singapore? How come they're not doing anything about that? This is just one comment made by Prime Minister Tony Abbott, and they are already getting also enraged about it.
And mainly, perhaps they are doing this mainly because it's international news. It's coming all the way from Australia, and it's also a relationship that shows how Joko Widodo will deal with Australian Prime Minister.
So we'll have to see how far or how successful this coin collection campaign goes, and how Prime Minister Tony Abbott will react to this. So we are going to take a very short break, and when we come back, a couple of issues that's happening in ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome back to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. This is Gowri.
And this is Grace.
And we are back on ASEAN Daily to bring you more news from Southeast Asia. And we are going to talk about e-commerce in this region. How is it going to be to unleash ASEAN's potential in the e-commerce sector itself. And it seems that the online retail market in ASEAN 6, which is Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, has the potential to grow at least 25% a year until 2017, according to a study that was done recently by a management consulting firm.
And at the same time, in fact, 29% of the ASEAN 6 population are online, and compared to 46% in China and more than 90% in Japan. So ASEAN 6 have a lot of actually long way to catch up to compared to other countries. And while mobile broadband is spreading quickly, it was said that the limited fixed broadband connectivity is an actually issue, and also at the same time, state aid will be an essential for improving the regional access. So when it comes to this online or e-commerce, the issue here is the broadband, that accessibility, how the internet is actually slower compared to the others developed countries.
And they also actually picked out a few ways that we can actually improve in ASEAN. And the first one is increased broadband access, and then there's also to support more local offers, to reinforce online security, to promote e-payment, and to improve logistics and trade efficiency. And when it comes to local offers, of course, a lot of times we have the problem where our local products don't get enough attention or the amount of support that it should be getting, because we tend to have that local products are not good mentality. And of course, it doesn't apply to everything. Maybe in certain products it can be true, but that doesn't mean that a few products should speak for the entire market itself, because the entire market could be different. And online security is another thing that we have to look at, because when it comes to cybersecurity, we do not really have that much of a solid policy that we can operate on in this region.
And at the same time, not many people are aware how to get all this information regarding cyber security. But at the same time, there are few facts that we can't ignore, which could be a challenge into some countries, such as the many islands. There are many islands in the Philippines and also Indonesia. For example, they may have the geographical difficulties when it comes to implementing the broadband or internet access, and also that also could lead to have difficulty or complication in the delivering of products that brought online, and much of the cost can add up by being passed onto the consumer as well. So these are also other challenges that they have to face when it comes to online purchasing.
And speaking of payment, actually, the ASEAN governments should actually institute probably a standard e-payment regulation, and this will be easier to coordinate whatever that people are purchasing all over the region, and not just in a particular country. And another thing that they highlight here is logistics as well, as to how we can deliver products, like you were just explaining before. And in order to encourage more local companies to actually participate in this online trend, because a lot of, especially all these small, medium enterprises, they probably don't see the need to go online. And why should I put my business up on the internet when I already have this little facility and everything is going fine? But it's always about the power of multiplication and how far out that you may be able to reach, because ASEAN is a huge market with a lot of potential, and going online means you're actually tapping into probably like 600 million people, and that is will be a huge benefit to this SME entrepreneurs.
So definitely all these ASEAN 6, the state government needs to come together to discuss how to improve this broadband system in each country, because this is very crucial for them to be able to move forward to become one single market. Because like for example, the surrounding countries like Korea and Japan, they're already at the top level when it comes to internet access or online purchasing or any other like business online even. But all these countries, or we call it perhaps the older generation, or even still the third world country,
Right.
they need to take the examples from those developed country. If you visit Canada, if you visit Japan, most of the payment are made online nowadays. You just need to carry the cards, but no cash anymore. So no cash system needs to be implemented. It's for the better lifestyle and also better security system.
And that's all the time that we have for this morning. Thank you so much for listening to us. And as always, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We also have an Instagram account, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And what can they do if they are on the move, Grace?
On the move, they can always download this app called TuneIn and find us at Durian ASEAN.